Dr. Ryan Torres had been preparing for this moment his entire career. As the lead scientist aboard the research ship Aurora, he'd spent months studying every piece of information they had about the Catharan Empire. The files described their representatives as fierce warriors who valued honor above everything else. The diplomatic team had drilled him on proper greetings, formal postures, and the importance of showing respect. "Remember, these aren't just aliens," Captain Williams had told him during the final briefing. "They're military commanders who've conquered half their galaxy. One wrong move, and this peaceful first contact could turn into our last contact." Ryan adjusted his uniform for the 10th time as he stood in the shuttle bay. His hands were sweaty. His heart was racing, and he kept going over the formal greeting in his head. The translator device felt heavy in his pocket, even though it was no bigger than a phone. Everything had to be perfect. The massive bay doors began to open with a low rumble that vibrated through the metal floor. Ryan could see the sleek black shuttle approaching, its design unlike anything human engineers had ever created. It moved with an almost liquid grace, as if it was swimming through space rather than flying. "Here they come," whispered Dr. Lisa Park, the mission's cultural expert, standing beside him. She looked just as nervous as Ryan felt. "Remember, maintain eye contact but don't stare. Show confidence but not aggression. And whatever you do, don't make any sudden movements." The shuttle landed with barely a whisper. Steam hissed from its landing gear as the engines powered down. Ryan held his breath as a ramp extended from the craft's belly, hitting the deck with a metallic clang that echoed through the bay. The first figure to emerge made Ryan's jaw drop. She was tall, incredibly. Tall, probably 7 feet at least. Her skin had this amazing blue-silver color that seemed to shimmer and shift in the light. She wore what looked like ceremonial armor, but it was elegant rather than bulky, decorated with intricate patterns that caught the light like jewels. But it was her face that stopped Ryan cold. Despite her obvious alien features, there was something graceful about her movements, something almost delicate in the way she carried herself. Her large eyes seemed to take in everything at once, and when she looked directly at him, Ryan felt like she could see straight through him. More warriors followed behind her, each one impressive in their own right, but Ryan couldn't take his eyes off the leader. She moved like a dancer, each step precise and flowing despite the heavy armor she wore. There was something mesmerizing about the way the light played across her skin, creating patterns that seemed to shift with her breathing. The diplomatic protocol flew right out of Ryan's head. All those hours of practice, all the careful preparation, gone in an instant. As she approached with her honor guard flanking her, Ryan found himself staring at this incredible being who was nothing like what he'd expected. "Oh, wow," he breathed, not realizing he was speaking out loud. "You're actually really beautiful." The words hung in the air for a split second before the translator in his pocket activated automatically. The device converted his English into the flowing musical language of the Catharans, broadcasting his comment to everyone in the shuttle bay. Everything stopped. The alien warriors froze mid-step. The human diplomatic team went silent. Even the background hum of the ship's systems seemed to quiet down, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. But the most dramatic change was in the leader herself. Her blue-silver skin began to shift, colors rippling across her face and exposed arms like waves on water. The change started as a soft pink, then deepened to red, then to a deep crimson that spread from her cheeks down her neck and across her hands. Her large eyes went wide, and she touched her throat with one armored hand in what looked like surprise or confusion. The red color kept deepening, turning into something almost purple. She stood there, statue still, staring at Ryan with an expression he couldn't read. "Did I just mess up everything?" Ryan whispered to Dr. Park, not daring to move. His voice was barely audible, but in the dead silence of the shuttle bay, everyone heard him. The alien warriors were reaching for their weapons now, their own skin shifting to darker, more aggressive colors. They looked ready to defend their commander from whatever threat Ryan might represent. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Dr. Park grabbed Ryan's arm, her fingernails digging into his uniform. "What did you just say?" she hissed through gritted teeth. "I called her beautiful," Ryan replied, his voice cracking slightly. "That's not bad, right? I mean, she is. Look at her." The alien commander was still that deep red color, but she wasn't moving away or calling for her guards to attack. Instead, she seemed frozen in place, one hand still pressed to her throat, her eyes locked on Ryan's face. Captain Williams stepped forward, his diplomatic training kicking in even as sweat beaded on his forehead. "Commander," he said carefully, addressing the alien leader through his translator, "please accept our apologies if Dr. Torres has caused any offense. We are still learning your customs." The red-skinned commander blinked slowly, as if coming out of a trance. When she spoke, her voice was like music, even through the mechanical translation. "Dr. Torres," she said, and somehow Ryan's name sounded different in her accent, more melodic. "Your words were unexpected." "I'm sorry," Ryan said quickly, stepping forward despite Dr. Park trying to hold him back. "I didn't mean to be rude. It's just that you're not what I expected at all. The reports made you sound so intimidating, but you're—" He gestured helplessly, still captivated by the way her skin continued to shift colors. "You're amazing." The translation device worked its magic again, and this time the commander's color shifted to an even deeper shade of red, if that was possible. Her warriors looked confused, glancing between their leader and the human who had somehow managed to turn their fierce commander into a living sunset. "In our culture," the commander said slowly, her voice barely above a whisper, "such words are not spoken lightly." "What kind of words?" Ryan asked, genuinely curious now. The fear was fading, replaced by fascination. He'd spent his entire career studying alien life forms, but he'd never seen anything like this color-changing response. Dr. Park was frantically checking her cultural database, her fingers flying over her tablet. "Ryan," she said urgently, "I think beautiful might translate to something more significant in their language. Like, really significant." The commander overheard and nodded, slowly. "Your translator chose words typically reserved for—" She paused, seeming to search for the right terms. "For those one might wish to court." The entire human delegation went quiet. Ryan felt his own face heating up now, though he couldn't change colors like she could. "Oh," he said weakly. "Oh, no. I didn't know. I really didn't know." But something interesting happened then. Instead of getting angry or calling for her warriors to arrest him, the commander's rigid posture relaxed slightly. The aggressive red of her skin softened to something warmer, more like the color of a sunset than an alarm. "You did not know," she repeated, and there might have been the slightest hint of amusement in her musical voice. "Your species expresses admiration so freely." "Well, yeah," Ryan said, starting to relax a little himself. "When something's beautiful, we usually say so. Is that weird?" The commander tilted her head, studying him with those large, luminous eyes. Her skin continued to shift through various shades of pink and red, creating patterns that Ryan found absolutely mesmerizing. "Among my people," she said carefully, "warriors do not often receive such compliments. We are respected, feared, obeyed. But beautiful?" The word seemed to taste strange in her mouth even through the translator. This is new. Ryan felt emboldened by her response. "Where I come from, strength and beauty aren't opposites. The way you move, the way you carry yourself, even the way your skin changes colors when you're surprised or thinking, it's all incredible." The commander's color shifted again, this time to a softer, more golden hue that Ryan hadn't seen before. Her warriors were still tense, but they'd stopped reaching for their weapons. Instead, they looked as confused as Ryan felt, watching their leader display emotions they'd probably never seen from her before. "I am Commander Zarathis of the Kithran Fifth Fleet," she said formally, but her voice had lost some of its official edge. "And you, Dr. Torres, have made this first meeting far more interesting than our diplomatic protocols anticipated." Ryan couldn't help but smile. Good interesting or bad interesting? For the first time since stepping off her shuttle, Commander Zarathis smiled back. It transformed her entire face, making her seem less like an intimidating alien warrior, and more like someone he'd actually like to get to know. "I believe," she said, her skin now glowing with warm golden tones, "that remains to be seen." The formal diplomatic meeting felt like the longest 3 hours of Ryan's life. He sat at the polished conference table, trying his best to look professional while stealing glances at Commander Zarathis across the room. She had taken her place, at the head of the Kitharan delegation, but something was clearly bothering her. Her skin kept shifting colors throughout the entire presentation. What had started as that deep red from their first meeting had settled into a constant pink flush that would deepen whenever someone mentioned cultural exchange or cooperation between their species. Every few minutes, she would touch her throat with those long, elegant fingers, almost like she was checking her pulse. Ryan found it impossible to concentrate on the boring trade agreements and territorial discussions. Instead, he watched the way light played across her changing skin, fascinated by this living display of emotions that humans could never match. Her second-in-command, a scarred warrior named Thekvar, kept shooting suspicious looks in Ryan's direction, clearly not happy about something. Captain Williams droned on about mining rights and shipping lanes, while the Kitharan representatives responded with formal politeness. But Ryan could tell that the real conversation was happening in the unspoken tension filling the room. Every time he shifted in his seat or cleared his throat, Zarathis's color would change slightly, like she was aware of his every movement. Dr. Park leaned over during a break in the presentations. "We need to talk," she whispered urgently. "Now." She practically dragged Ryan out of the conference room and into a nearby supply closet, her face pale with worry. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she asked, pulling up information on her tablet with shaking hands. "I called her beautiful," Ryan said, confused by the panic in Lisa's voice. "Yeah, it was awkward, but she didn't seem angry about it. Ryan, listen to me very carefully." Lisa's voice was deadly serious. "I've been running your exact words through our linguistic database all morning. The phrase your translator used doesn't just mean beautiful in their language." Ryan's stomach dropped. "What does it mean?" "It's complicated, but basically, you used words that translate to something like desirable life companion with attractive qualities suitable for bonding." Lisa paused, letting that sink in. In Kitharan culture, warriors aren't supposed to be described that way. They're respected, feared, honored, but never called attractive or desirable. "So I insulted her?" "That's just it. I don't think you did." Lisa scrolled through more data on her screen. According to these cultural notes, if a Kitharan warrior took offense to such words, she would have challenged you to combat immediately. The fact that she turned red and stayed red suggests something completely different. Ryan felt his own face heating up. "Different how?" "Red coloration in Kitharan physiology can indicate several emotional states," Lisa read from her research. "Anger, embarrassment, surprise, or..." She paused, looking uncomfortable. "Or romantic interest." The supply closet suddenly felt very small and very warm. Ryan sank back against a shelf, his mind racing. "You're telling me that I accidentally flirted with an alien warrior commander during first contact?" "I'm telling you that you might have made what their culture considers a courtship declaration," Lisa replied grimly, "and judging by her continued color display, she might not have rejected it." Meanwhile, in the Kitharan quarters on the other side of the ship, Zarathis was having her own crisis. She stood before the large viewport in her temporary chambers, staring out at the stars while her aide, Kesara, tried to make sense of her commander's behavior. "Your coloration has been unstable since the meeting began," Kesara observed carefully. "The humans may interpret this as a sign of weakness." Zarathus touched her throat again, feeling the warm flush that had been constant since that human scientist spoke those impossible words. In her 40 years of military service, no one had ever called her beautiful. Dangerous, yes. Respected, certainly. But beautiful? The concept was so foreign she hardly knew how to process it. "Tell me about their customs," she said finally. "When humans speak of beauty, what do they mean?" Kesara consulted her cultural database. "From our observations, humans use the term frequently and casually. They apply it to landscapes, art, music, and to each other without the formal implications it carries in our society. So when Dr. Torres called me beautiful, he may not have intended a bonding proposal?" "Most likely not, Commander. However," Kesara paused delicately, "his physiological responses during your interaction suggest genuine admiration. His pupils dilated, his heart rate increased, and his skin temperature rose. These are indicators of what humans call attraction." Zarathus felt her color deepen again. She'd noticed those things, too, had cataloged them automatically the way she would assess any potential threat or ally. But Dr. Torres hadn't felt like either of those things. He'd looked at her with such open wonder, such honest appreciation, that it had short-circuited all her military training. "In our culture, warriors are not objects of beauty," she said, quietly. "We are weapons to be wielded, shields to protect others. We are admired for our strength, our skill, our honor, but never for our appearance." "Perhaps that is why his words affected you so strongly," Kesara suggested. "He saw something in you that your own people rarely acknowledge." When the diplomatic sessions resumed, the tension in the room was even thicker than before. Both delegations seemed to be walking on eggshells, aware that something significant had happened, but not sure how to address it. Ryan tried his best to focus on the presentations, but he kept catching Zarathus watching him. Every time their eyes met, her skin would shift to that soft pink color, and she would look away quickly. It was adorable, and that thought terrified him because he was pretty sure you weren't supposed to find alien military commanders adorable. During another break, Tekvar approached Captain Williams directly. "Your scientist," he said bluntly. "His words have disturbed our commander's equilibrium. Perhaps he should be removed from these proceedings." "Dr. Torres is essential to our scientific exchange program," Captain Williams replied diplomatically. "Is there a specific problem we should address?" Tekvar's scarred face was unreadable. "Among my people, words carry weight. Actions have consequences. Your human spoke carelessly, and now our commander displays emotional instability that could be seen as weakness by our enemies." Ryan overheard this exchange and felt terrible. The last thing he wanted was to cause problems for Zarathus with her own people. During the next break, he made a decision that probably violated about 6 different diplomatic protocols. He approached her directly. "Commander Zarathus," he said formally, "could I speak with you privately for a moment?" Her skin immediately shifted to that familiar pink-red combination, but she nodded. They stepped into an empty corridor, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. "I want to apologize," Ryan began. "Dr. Park explained that my words earlier might have been misinterpreted. I didn't mean to cause you any embarrassment or problems with your crew." Zarathus studied him with those large, expressive eyes. "You wish to retract your statement?" "Well, no," Ryan admitted, running a hand through his hair nervously. "I meant what I said. You are beautiful, at least by human standards. But I understand now that might not be appropriate to say in your culture." "And if it were appropriate?" she asked quietly. If such words were welcomed rather than problematic, Ryan felt his heart skip. Then I'd probably say a lot more than just beautiful. I'd say you're fascinating, graceful, and incredibly impressive. I'd say that watching your skin change colors is like seeing emotions painted in real time, and it's the most amazing thing I've ever witnessed. Zarathus's color shifted through several shades before settling on a warm, golden tone Ryan hadn't seen before. Your species is very direct with their feelings. Sometimes, Ryan agreed. Is that bad? Among my people, such directness in emotional expression is considered a luxury that warriors cannot afford. She paused, seeming to choose her words carefully. But perhaps there is wisdom in honesty that I have not previously considered. They stood there in the corridor, two beings from different worlds trying to navigate feelings that neither of their cultures had prepared them for. When Zarathus smiled slightly, that same transformation Ryan had noticed before lighting up her entire face, he realized that some things might just be universal after all. The diplomatic sessions will continue for several more days, she observed. They will, Ryan agreed, trying not to smile too widely. Perhaps we will have more opportunities to discuss these cultural differences. I'd like that very much, Commander. As they walked back toward the conference room, Ryan couldn't help but notice that her skin had settled into a steady, warm gold color that seemed to glow softly in the ship's lighting. Whatever that meant in Kitharan physiology, he hoped it was good. Over the next few days, something wonderful and terrifying began to happen. Ryan and Commander Zarathus kept finding themselves assigned to the same working groups, supposedly by coincidence. The diplomatic teams needed their scientific expertise for the technology exchange discussions, which meant spending hours together in small conference rooms, going over data and research findings. What started as awkward professional conversations slowly transformed into something much more natural. Ryan discovered that beneath all that ceremonial armor and military discipline, Zarathus had a brilliant scientific mind. She asked questions about human biology that made him think in completely new ways, and her insights into Kitharan technology were absolutely fascinating. Your species uses such inefficient methods for space travel, she observed during one afternoon session, her skin displaying a thoughtful pattern of blue and silver. Yet somehow you achieve results that our most advanced engineers struggle to replicate. Maybe efficiency isn't always the answer, Ryan suggested, pulling up holographic displays of both human and Kitharan ship designs. We humans tend to be pretty chaotic in our approach to problem solving. We try weird things, make mistakes, stumble onto solutions by accident. Zarathus tilted her head, studying the human ship schematics with genuine curiosity. Your vessels appear to be designed by committee, with multiple redundant systems and conflicting design philosophies. Exactly, Ryan laughed. And somehow that mess of different ideas actually works better than it should. Maybe perfection isn't as important as adaptability. Her skin shifted to that warm golden color he was starting to recognize as her equivalent of a smile. Among my people, such disorder would be considered shameful. We value precision, harmony, unified purpose. That sounds beautiful, Ryan said honestly, but also kind of lonely. The gold in her skin deepened, and she was quiet for a long moment. Lonely, she repeated as if testing the word. Yes, I suppose it can be. As the days passed, their conversations moved beyond purely scientific topics. During a late-night session reviewing mineral extraction data, Zarathus surprised him by sharing something personal. I have always been different from other warriors, she said quietly, her color shifting to a muted blue that Ryan was learning meant sadness or uncertainty. My emotional displays, my curiosity about other worlds, my tendency to question orders. These traits are not valued in our military structure. Ryan looked up from his tablet, giving her his full attention. Different how? Warriors are supposed, To be constant, unwavering, our skin should remain neutral except in battle or ceremonial situations. But she gestured to her arms, where subtle patterns of color continued to flow even as she spoke. I cannot control it completely. My feelings show whether I wish them to or not. And that's considered bad? It is considered unstable, unreliable. I have risen to commander rank despite this weakness, not because of any strength it might represent. Ryan set down his tablet entirely. You want to know what I think? I think it's incredible. You're like a walking, talking display of honesty. You can't hide what you're feeling, which means every emotion is genuine. Do you have any idea how rare that is? Her skin brightened to that familiar pink. Your species values emotional transparency? We claim to, but most of us are terrible at it. We hide our feelings, lie about what we want, pretend to be okay when we're not. But you? You wear your heart on your skin, literally. It's amazing. Zarathis was quiet for a long moment, her colors cycling through several different shades before settling on a soft, warm tone. No one has ever described my condition as amazing before. Well, they should have, Ryan said firmly. Because watching you express emotions through color is like seeing feelings become art. It's beautiful. The word hung in the air between them, loaded with all the implications they'd discovered over the past few days. This time, though, Zarathis didn't look embarrassed or confused. Instead, her skin took on that glowing golden hue, and she met his eyes directly. You say that word so easily, she observed. Beautiful, as if it costs you nothing. Maybe that's because, for humans, appreciation doesn't cost anything. When we see something that moves us, something that makes us happy or amazed, we want to share that feeling. Keeping it inside feels wasteful. And I move you? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan felt his own face heating up, but he didn't look away. Yeah, you really do. They were sitting closer than they had been at the start of their conversation, he realized. Somewhere during their discussion about emotions and honesty, they'd both leaned forward, drawn into each other's space. He could see the intricate patterns flowing across her skin up close, like watching a living galaxy of colors shift and dance. This is complicated, Zarathis said softly, but she didn't move away. Everything interesting is complicated, Ryan replied. The question is whether it's worth the complication. Before she could answer, the conference room door chimed, and Dr. Park stuck her head inside. Hey, Ryan, we need those mineral analysis reports for tomorrow's... Oh. She paused, taking in the scene of them sitting close together, both looking flustered. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. It's fine, Ryan said quickly, pulling back to a more professional distance. We were just finishing up. But as Lisa left and they began packing up their materials for the night, Zarathis caught his attention one more time. Ryan, she said, using his first name for the very first time. It sounded different in her accent, musical and careful. To answer your question about whether this is worth the complication, she paused at the doorway, her skin shifting through a spectrum of warm colors before settling on that golden glow he was growing to love. I believe it might be. The next day brought new challenges. Word had somehow gotten around both delegations that the human scientist and Kitharan commander were spending a lot of time together. Ryan noticed the looks he was getting from his own team, ranging from curiosity to concern. Captain Williams pulled him aside after the morning briefing. Dr. Torres, I need to ask you directly. Is there something developing between you and Commander Zarathis that could impact these negotiations? Ryan considered lying, but Zarathis had taught him something about the value of honesty. I don't know, Captain. Maybe. We've been talking, getting to know each other. She's not what any of us expected. That's exactly what I'm worried about, Williams replied grimly. These talks are too important to risk over personal feelings. Both our species are watching how this first contact proceeds. We can't afford any complications. With respect, sir, maybe getting to know each other personally is exactly what both our species need. How can we negotiate lasting peace if we don't understand each other as individuals? Williams looked skeptical, but before he could respond, an announcement came over the ship's communication system. There had been a request from the Kitharin delegation for a joint scientific expedition to study the nearby moon's unusual mineral formations. Both teams would be working together in small groups over several days. Guess we're about to find out just how well humans and Kitharins can cooperate, Williams muttered. When Ryan saw the team assignments posted later that day, he wasn't entirely surprised to find his name paired with Zarathis for the geological survey mission. What did surprise him was how excited he felt about spending several days working alongside her, away from the formal constraints of the diplomatic meetings. As they prepared their equipment for the expedition, Zarathis approached him in the shuttle bay. Her skin was displaying a complex pattern of colors he'd never seen before, like nervousness and anticipation mixed together. "Dr. Torres," she said formally, but there was warmth in her voice. "I look forward to our collaboration on this mission." "Just Ryan is fine," he said, checking the seals on his environmental suit. "And yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Should be interesting to see how we work together in the field." Her colors shifted to that familiar golden glow. "Yes," she agreed. "Very interesting indeed." As they boarded the shuttle for the moon survey, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that this expedition was going to change everything between them. The question was whether that change would bring them closer together or force them to acknowledge that some distances were simply too great to bridge. Looking at Zarathis as she efficiently checked her equipment, her skin glowing with patterns. Of excitement and determination, Ryan found himself hoping for the former. The moon expedition started perfectly. Ryan and Zarathis worked together like they'd been partners for years, their different approaches to science complementing each other beautifully. While Ryan focused on detailed analysis and careful documentation, Zarathis had an intuitive understanding of geological patterns that amazed him. "Your people see the forest, while mine study individual trees," she observed as they collected mineral samples near a crystalline formation. Her skin showed calm blue-green patterns, the most relaxed Ryan had ever seen her. "Maybe that's why we work so well together," Ryan replied, carefully sealing another sample container. "You see the big picture? I handle the details. It's like we were designed to be a team." The words slipped out before he could stop them, and both of them went quiet. Zarathis's skin shifted to that familiar pink, and Ryan felt his own face heating up. They'd been dancing around their feelings for days, but neither had been quite so direct about it. "A team?" she repeated softly, testing the word. "Yes, I suppose we are." But their peaceful collaboration couldn't last forever. On the second day of the expedition, while they were working in a deep canyon studying rare mineral deposits, their equipment started malfunctioning. What began as minor glitches quickly escalated into serious problems. "The communication array is down," Ryan reported, tapping his portable transmitter with growing concern. "I can't reach the base camp." Zarathis checked her own equipment, her skin shifting to warning shades of orange and red. "The atmospheric readings are unstable. There's a storm system approaching much faster than our weather predictions indicated." As if summoned by her words, the sky above them began to darken. What had been a clear day suddenly filled with swirling clouds that moved with unnatural speed. The wind picked up, howling through the canyon walls and kicking up dust that stung, their eyes even through their protective gear. "We need shelter," Zarathis said, grabbing Ryan's arm as debris started flying past them. "Now!" They ran through the canyon, fighting against wind that threatened to knock them off their feet. Ryan's human endurance was no match for the Kitharin, Commander's strength, and when he stumbled, she didn't hesitate to help him. Her armored hand was surprisingly gentle as she steadied him, her skin showing deep concern despite her calm voice. "There," she pointed to a cave opening in the canyon wall. "We can wait out the storm inside." The cave was deeper than it looked from the outside, stretching back into darkness beyond their portable lights. They set up a temporary camp near the entrance, close enough to monitor the storm but far enough inside to stay safe from the worst of it. For the first hour, they tried to stay busy checking their equipment and analyzing the samples they'd collected. But as the storm raged on outside, showing no signs of letting up, conversation became inevitable. "Your people will be worried," Zarathis observed, her skin cycling through muted patterns of concern. "So will yours," Ryan replied. "Thekvar probably thinks I've kidnapped you or something." She laughed at that, a sound like wind chimes that echoed off the cave walls. "Thekvar has been suspicious of you since the first day. He believes you are attempting to compromise my judgment for some strategic advantage." "And what do you believe?" Zarathis was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the storm. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible over the wind. "I believe you are the first person in my life who has seen me as something other than a weapon or a commander. You look at me and see possibilities I never knew existed." Ryan moved closer, drawn by the vulnerability in her voice. "What kind of possibilities?" "The possibility of being valued for qualities other than my fighting ability. The possibility of connection beyond duty and honor. The possibility of—" She paused, her skin shifting through complex patterns of color. "Of being cherished, rather, than simply respected." They were sitting close now, close enough that Ryan could see the intricate details of the color patterns flowing across her skin. Each shift and change was like watching her thoughts and feelings play out in real time. "Zarathis," he said softly, using her full name with careful pronunciation. "You know this is complicated, right? Even if we both want it, there are going to be people on both sides who have problems with this." "I know," she replied. "My own second-in-command has already expressed concerns about my emotional stability during these negotiations. He fears that personal feelings will compromise my effectiveness as a military leader. And my captain thinks I'm risking the entire peace process by getting too close to you." Ryan ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit she'd probably noticed by now. "They're not entirely wrong either. This could cause real problems. So what do we do?" Before Ryan could answer, a rumbling sound echoed through the cave. At first they thought it was thunder from the storm outside, but the sound continued, growing louder and more ominous. Dust began falling from the ceiling, and small rocks scattered across the cave floor. "The storm is destabilizing the rock formations," Zarathis said, immediately shifting into commander mode. Her skin turned the solid red of battle readiness. "We need to move deeper into the cave." They grabbed their essential supplies and headed further into the darkness, their portable lights creating dancing shadows on the cave walls. Behind them, they could hear rocks falling near the entrance, partially blocking their exit. "Well," Ryan said, trying to keep his voice light despite their situation, "I guess that answers the question about what we do next. Right now, we focus on staying alive." Zarathis's battle-ready red softened to something warmer, more personal. "You are remarkably calm for someone trapped in a cave during an alien storm." "I'm terrified," Ryan admitted honestly. "But I'm also with someone I trust completely. If I'm going to be stuck anywhere, I can't think of anyone I'd rather be stuck with." Her skin bloomed into that beautiful golden color, brighter than he'd ever seen it. In the dim light of their portable lamps, she looked almost luminous. "Ryan," she said, her voice different now, softer and more uncertain than her usual confident tone. "If we survive this, if we make it back to our people safely, what happens then?" "I don't know," he replied honestly. "But I know I don't want to pretend. This never happened. I don't want to go back to formal meetings and professional distance and acting like we don't mean anything to each other." even if it causes problems for both of us? Ryan looked at her, really looked at her. Her skin was cycling through multiple colors now, showing every emotion she was feeling without any attempt to hide them. Fear, hope, affection, uncertainty, all of it displayed in flowing patterns across her face and arms. Especially if it causes problems, he said firmly. Because if we can't find a way to make this work, if two people who care about each other can't bridge the gap between our species, then what hope do our governments have? Zarathis reached out and took his hand, her fingers intertwining with his. Her skin was warm where it touched his, and the colors seemed to pulse gently at the point of contact. "You are either very wise or very foolish," she observed. "Probably both," Ryan agreed. "But I'd rather be a wise fool with you than a sensible coward without you." Outside the cave, the storm continued to rage, but inside, something had changed. Between them. They'd moved past the careful politeness and professional interest into something deeper and more honest. Whatever happened when they got back to their people, they would face it together. As they settled in to wait out the storm, Zarathis's skin gradually shifted to a steady warm gold that reminded Ryan of sunlight. In the darkness of the cave, she was like a living beacon of hope and possibility. "When we return," she said quietly, "things will be different." Good different or bad different? She smiled, and her colors brightened even more. "That remains to be seen, but I find myself looking forward to discovering the answer." Ryan squeezed her hand gently, marveling at how natural it felt to be connected to someone so different from himself. "Me too." The rescue teams found them 18 hours later, both species working together to clear the cave entrance and extract their missing diplomats. Ryan and Zarathis emerged from the cave changed, and everyone could see it immediately. The way they moved together, the careful concern they showed for each other, and most obviously, the steady golden glow of Zarathis's skin told the entire story. Captain Williams and Thekvar exchanged worried glances as the two were checked, over by medical teams. Word spread quickly through both delegations that something significant had happened during those hours in the cave. "Dr. Torres," Captain Williams called him aside as soon as the medical team cleared him. "We need to discuss your assignment going forward." Ryan's heart sank. "You're pulling me from the negotiations." "The situation has become complicated," Williams said diplomatically. "Your obvious attachment to Commander Zarathis is causing concern among both our teams. Some of our people think you've been compromised, and frankly, some of theirs think the same about her." "Compromised how? We're working together better than anyone expected. Our research collaboration has produced more breakthroughs in 3 days than the rest of the team has managed in weeks." "That's exactly the problem," Williams replied grimly. "You're too effective together. It's making people nervous. They're wondering if this connection is genuine, or if one of you is manipulating the other for strategic advantage." Meanwhile, Zarathis was having a similar conversation with Thekvar in the Kitharan quarters. Her second-in-command had been blunt about his concerns. "Your emotional displays have become a liability," he stated flatly. "The crew questions your judgment. The High Command has received reports of your instability. They are considering replacing you as lead negotiator." Zarathis felt her skin shift to angry red patterns, but she fought to keep her voice level. "My judgment has been sound. The human research teams respect our capabilities more now than when we arrived. Dr. Torres has provided insights that advance our scientific understanding significantly." "Dr. Torres has also caused you to abandon proper military protocol," Thekvar countered. "You display emotions openly, you spend excessive time in private consultation with him, and you have allowed personal feelings to interfere with your duties." "Have I failed in any of my assigned tasks?" "No, but have I compromised our negotiating position in any way?" "Not directly, but your behavior sends a message of weakness that our enemies could exploit." Zarathis straightened to her full height, her colors shifting to the deep red of command authority. Then perhaps our definition of strength needs to evolve. The crisis came to a head 2 days later during what should have been the final treaty signing ceremony. Both delegations had assembled in the main conference hall with secure communications, links to their home governments. The formal agreements had been finalized, and all that remained were the ceremonial signatures and speeches. But as Captain Williams stepped up to the podium to deliver the closing remarks, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Emergency lights flashed as the computer announced a security breach in the main engineering section. Both delegations, "Remain calm," Williams announced, but Ryan could see the confusion and rising panic in the room. The timing was too convenient, too suspicious. That's when the second alarm sounded, this one from the Kithaeron shuttle bay. Someone was sabotaging both ships simultaneously, trying to strand them together and create an incident that would destroy any chance of peace between their species. "This is a coordinated attack," Zarathis announced, her military training taking over instantly. Her skin turned the solid red of battle readiness. "Someone wants these negotiations to fail." Ryan's mind raced as he put the pieces together. The people who were against these talks from the beginning. There are hardliners on both sides who never wanted peace. "We need to split up," Williams decided. "Human teams handle our engineering, Kithaeron teams handle their shuttle." "No," Ryan said firmly, surprising everyone. "That's exactly what they want. They're trying to drive us apart, make us suspicious of each other. We need to work together." "Dr. Torres is right," Zarathis agreed, her colors shifting to determined patterns. "This attack requires knowledge of both our technologies. The saboteurs had help from both sides. What followed was the most intense hour of Ryan's life. He and Zarathis worked as a team, moving between the human engineering section and the Kithaeron shuttle bay, using their combined knowledge to track down the sabotage devices. Their deep understanding of each other, built over days of close collaboration, allowed them to coordinate perfectly, even in crisis. "There!" Zarathis pointed to a device hidden behind a power coupling in the shuttle bay. "The same energy signature as the one we found in your engineering section." Ryan scanned the device with his equipment. "It's designed to overload both our power systems simultaneously. When these go off, both ships get disabled, we're all stranded, and it looks like an attack from one side against the other. How long do we have?" "Maybe 10 minutes before they activate remotely." They worked frantically to disarm the devices, their different technological approaches complementing each other perfectly. Ryan's detailed analysis combined with Zarathis's intuitive understanding of energy systems allowed them to trace the sabotage network and shut it down with minutes to spare. But more importantly, they had identified the saboteurs. 2 humans and 2 Kithaerons, working together to destroy the peace process their own people had worked so hard to achieve. When they returned to the conference hall with evidence of the conspiracy, both delegations were stunned into silence. The revelation that extremists from both sides had cooperated to sabotage the talks was almost as shocking as the sabotage itself. "This proves something important," Ryan said, addressing both groups. "If people who hate each other can work together to destroy peace, then people who care about each other can definitely work together to build it." Zarathis stepped forward, her skin cycling through the warm golden colors that had become familiar to everyone over the past week. "Dr. Torres and I have become an example of what cooperation between our species can achieve. We have been criticized for allowing personal feelings to influence our professional duties." She paused, looking directly at Ryan with an expression of complete certainty. "But our personal connection is not a weakness or a compromise. It is proof that understanding between our peoples is not only possible, but natural when we approach each other with openness and respect." Ryan joined her at the front of the room, no longer caring about protocol or proper procedures. When I first called Commander Zarathis beautiful, I broke about 6 different diplomatic rules. But sometimes the most important connections happen when you throw away the script and speak from the heart. Even if it makes you turn bright red, Zarathis added, her skin shifting to that same deep crimson from their first meeting, but this time with pride instead of embarrassment. The room erupted in laughter from both sides, breaking the tension that had dominated the negotiations for days. Captain Williams stepped forward with a smile. Well, I think that settles the question of whether personal connections help or hurt diplomatic relations, he announced. Dr. Torres, Commander Zarathis, would you do the honor of signing the treaty first? As they approached the signing, table together, Ryan realized that their relationship had become something bigger than just 2 people falling for each other. They had become a symbol of what was possible when different worlds came together with courage and honesty. You know, this means we're going to be under a microscope for the rest of our lives, he whispered to her as they picked up the signing styluses. Good, she whispered back, her skin glowing with patterns of joy and determination. Let them watch us prove that love is stronger than fear. They signed their names side by side, and as they did, Zarathis's skin blazed with the most beautiful display of colors Ryan had ever seen. Gold and silver and soft blues, all flowing together in patterns that seemed to dance with happiness. What do all those colors mean? He asked quietly. Joy, hope, love, and the promise of adventure, she replied, turning to face him fully. Everything I feel when I look at you. The treaty was signed by both delegations to thunderous applause, but Ryan barely heard it. He was too busy looking at the amazing woman beside him, thinking about all the adventures they would have together as their 2 species learned to understand each other. And whenever people asked them years later for advice about building bridges between different cultures, Zarathis would always smile and say, sometimes a single honest word spoken with genuine feeling can change everything. Her skin would always shift to that same deep red when she told the story, and Ryan would always think she had never looked more beautiful than in that moment when she first blushed at his compliment and started their incredible journey together.